a learning opportunity for all of us. So basically, I'd like to invite Hassin Ahmed Mohammed to go ahead and do your sample presentation today, if you have it ready.
Okay, do you want
I
me?
think we may have to get a sharing for the slideshow.
Yeah, do you want me
If we
to
can set
go
that up
ahead
for
with
him.
my presentation now? Like, am I going to be the...
Yeah, Mohammed Hassan, I already made as the co-host, so you have opportunity to share screen of your presentations.
All
Times
right.
is yours, Hassan.
All right.
Okay.
Thank you so much. Let me...
You need your microphone on, Mohammed Hassin.
Yeah.
Your microphone is off.
All right.
We still have no sound. There we go.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Give me a sec to do this sharing.
Okay.
Screen sharing is stopped. The shared window is closed. Okay.
Yeah, and then you can start again over your laptop and just click the share screen over there.
Yeah, let me open my file. All right. Okay. Basic. Advanced. Applications. Okay. I'm looking for my slide. Okay. Here we go. Yeah, I guess the slide is visible to everyone.
Yes.
So I'm going to talk about some of the overall strategies of how to introduce writing in adult young learners, advanced learners, because this is all about academic writing. Usually we have stages of writing for any writer, pre-task and while getting on the task and post-task, so most of the time usually the essay outline would be like definitions and readiness, and then obviously is the proficiency in the English usage that determines the quality of the products and the issues to be resolved. Also clearly communicate the purpose of the task, expectation of the writing assignment. For example, instead of saying write an essay about a favorite vacation, we can zero in or categorize them as write a 300-word essay describing your most memorable vacation and explaining why it was significant to you. So what I mean is that we have to give some scaffolding, structural inputs where the expectations are to be first explained and then to be met by the writer. Usually we as instructors, we have to give instructions. Instructions could go like, you have a topic of research and write an essay, so we need to get into the brainstorming sessions where the ideas are to be first of all collected without any exemptions, or so we need to gather as many ideas as possible. Obviously, after doing some background reading, because without having the schemata or input in the learner's foreground or background, the ideas cannot be generated. Usually, we go for brainstorming, mind mapping, and there is various ways of generating the ideas. It could be simple graphics, or could be even without letting something jot down the pen and paper, it could be in the mind itself. So the essay structure, usually the mechanics include or involve paragraph development, correct English grammar usage, because for advanced learners we expect it's to be free from the mechanical errors, like verb tense, subject, agreement, singular subject, singular verb, and plurals, and so on. Also, the choice of words, collocations, and idioms, and sentence structuring, because each of the genre requires the writer to employ the kind of lexis and the structure that suits the tasks on hand. And punctuations are like breaks, and without punctuation sometimes even the structures don't make any meaning, the best structures, and the structure, the output can be lopsided, and it might give ambiguous meaning or lose altogether meaning. In cases where punctuations are missing, the essential punctuations, they help us not to get derailed or give misinformation, or to avoid ambiguities. Usually in the Arab world, as I'm dealing with my own learners and writers, punctuations mostly are missing, and spelling is a huge issue, because it's a transferring of the first language to the other language, like a new language. Sometimes they don't have those sound words, and spellings are really tedious, and they have to use a dictionary on hand. So some of the stages of writing, like brainstorming, outlining, drafting, and needs to be employed, and we need to encourage them to spend ample time in each stage, because each stage will contribute to the holistic total outcome of the writing product. For example, you can provide a step-by-step guide on how to outline argumentative essays, because argumentative essays mostly emphasize on the importance of organizing ideas with each, like propositions and countering and refuting the claims and supporting evidences. It goes on in each paragraph, countering the arguments, and then also going for the argument, for or against. So good writing, some of the salient features might include the necessary and the required information to be provided, and it has to be precise and has to be relevant, because it has to be pinned down, and it has to be mapped onto the thesis statement that the writer has come up with. And your arguments must lend enough credibility to sound authentic. And if there's no clarity, it's vague and confusing, and it gives double meaning and ambiguity, the intended reader may not get the right kind of punch that every piece of writing is intended for. And conciseness has to be like every word that counts towards the meaning making, and we cannot afford to have liberty of squandering away the words. It has to be to the point. And we need to anticipate, the writer must anticipate the reader's reactions, like what is it going to fall flat, is going to have negative connotations, because the words may only denote the thing, but the message, the underlying, the current messages has to be carried. Vitality is the active voice rather than the passive. Some of the writing tasks requires us to use most of the active voices because it gives a flow and intended actions, and also gives credence that the writer has experienced in his person. So as a teacher instructor, we might share some well-written examples of the class that demonstrate effective writing techniques. We can have a sample paragraph, to begin with. We could provide a beginning and a good, prompt that effectively uses descriptive language. Sometimes we may even provide various sentence structures as a model, and we need to provide them with appropriate transitioning words, and because transitions play a very detrimental or instrumental. It could be both, because transitions, they are like changing the gear of the smooth landing. Have students analyze and discuss what makes the sample effective. So collaborative writing activities, like usually in advanced learning, we can have project-based writing. When I have task-based writing, it could be in or out, inside the class or outside the class. Also, students can work together and provide feedback each other's work, and instead of having to deal with 30, 40, 50 papers, we can employ the technique of pair share and peer check, and also we can provide some rubric that would give them the first instance of how to avoid some of the regular endemic errors, fossilized errors, like in punctuation, spellings. And peer editing is a wonderful way of minimizing not only the committing of the mistakes in writing, because peers over the time, they know each other and they can capitalize on each other's weaknesses and strengths, and it will further ease the burden of the instructor, and instructors can give a constructive criticism on drafts. Could be the first draft, or could be this like successive drafts. It's a good idea to come up with the first draft first, and they keep refining, fine-tuning, and then come up with the finished products. So in some writing tasks, they really require to be employed targeted grammar, like idiomatic expressions and lexical sets, or minimal pairs, and some vocabulary exercises to improve writing skills. So grammar concepts such as verb tenses, what kind of verbs give the smooth and actions and animations to the writing, and also obviously the basics in subject verb agreement, punctuation, interactive activities, worksheets. Encourage the use of new vocabulary words, and I like if they are repetitive and they keep on harping on the same tone or tune, using the same lexical sets, or that makes it a bit monotonous. So they have to have alternative vocabulary, like adjectives. We have weak adjectives, we have strong adjectives, we have. So enhance the written expressions, they must include some of the new vocabulary, as each time they write, they should come up with alternative sets of things. Composition style in advanced writing text. We need to start with knowing your audience. The reader should be introduced to the subject. Like every intended reader or audience has his own expectations or agenda. Sometimes it's hidden, sometimes could cater to their biases, to their beliefs and reservations. So it's a good idea to outline and get to know the audience first, and which steps to take in order. So every writing, as in the speaking or presentation, we need to grab the attention, the interest, or desired actions. These steps can help in the writing process. If you can't come up with a catchy beginning, or thesis statement, you have already lost the ground. It's not going to be very effective with that. So for the beginners, those who are beginning to starting to practice writing, free writing tasks is a wonderful way of letting all the imagination of the child or the writer come handy, and they can be, without bothering about how many errors, how many fossilized and numeric errors they come up with, or whether they're writing. But the whole point is non-stop set of periods without worrying about grammar structure. I mean, this gives confidence and also the self-esteem for the learners to come up with whatever comes to their heads. These activities help generate ideas. Those ideas can be far-fetched, sometimes can be unrelated, irrelevant, but we don't mind accepting them to begin with, because free writing allows every writer to relate to his personal life. And it's a good idea to set time, because within the time frame, whatever comes to heads and whatever topic, also they can be given a choice to choose a topic, instead of we supplying our own prompts. Or they can come with anything that they have experienced, that they found it disturbing or enjoyable, or it could be a bad experience, good experience, desirable. And sometimes we may have to provide interesting, thought-provoking writing prompts to stimulate thinking, critical thinking. Like when we talk about those kind of topics which really require us to deliberate upon and ponder for a longer time, students have to need to, like, problem solving, and also coming with any thorny issues of life. Could be a community problem, could be social aspects, and could be asking for them to come up with their own way of looking at things, like write a persuasive letter to your local government advocating for a social issue you care about. So this letter has to be quite poignant in its, and it has to be arresting in its, because the local government won't accept this letter, or don't even, unless it's substantiated with solutions, problem solutions. So it could be another idea to describe a time when you face a significant challenge and how you overcame it. The challenge could be personal, could be social, could be intellectual, academic, in the school place. And so if one feels that there's too much information to include, an outline should be created to outline the thought. Like sometimes some of the topics we really don't know where to begin, where to end, and it comes a flurry of thoughts to our brains. So we cannot include too much information. So the outline helps us to zero in and to categorize our ideas under heads, subheads, and also it helps us not to leave all the things irrelevant. I mean, like whatever is called for. So it is always good to have as a mental map, or on a pen or paper, jot down. Or there are many applications these days. They generate ideas, and you could have learning grammatical and stylist techniques also help writing more clearly. Stylistics techniques comes only after when we have grappled with the rudimentaries of grammatical. Lastly, one should be sure to proofread the document before sending it. So whichever document we are dealing with, or we need to pair a fresh eye to, because most of the time we think everything has gone right, but sometimes overlook things, and it's a good idea to proofread. Now, what are the strategies and all, like for advanced writers and academic writing? Clustering is one of the terms. It begins with a keyword, a central idea placed in the center of the page. This is like man making, and it could be a blackboard round. We pinpoint one topic, and then we start giving bubbles along with the students, the teacher. We can sometimes call each student to the blackboard and then add to the idea, clustering of the idea. It also helps the teachers sometimes, because we as teachers, we are not supermen. We also need to generate ideas, and sometimes student generated ideas, they really outwit us, and they come up with brilliant ones. We can't think of it. So jotting down all the free associations triggered by a subject matter on the spot, and then trying to recall or add or eliminate, that's a good way of coming out with a good, it's like a blueprint of. So sometimes we can encourage students to reflect on their own writing process in progress, because once they are in control of the ideas, the administration, and all of they will get to know their weakness and strengths, and they will also have their own goals of improvement, because every child obviously aims at improving his text and would like to compete with the other texts in the class. So sometimes we display all those finished products or even the first draft on the wall, on the sometimes some of the students, they shy away for showing their own, because they feel like, oh, there could be trash and it can be rubbished by the others. But if in person, if they're allowed to reflect on their own from the previous text and previous, they will be more aware of how to become a better writers. Actually, there's no shortcut or overnight, formula where any writer. It's a continuous, persistent process of, and it comes from some of the, backup or motivations aspects that we are there to provide him. Sometimes we can simply put some effective writing models before them and highlight the weaknesses or strengths, and we can highlight the concise language, appropriate tone, well-organized structure, and we can discuss with them as an open platform why these qualities are really important for writing tasks. We can tell them that there are different types of text. I mean, it's not the same lexis or language won't work for emails or reports or essays. Essays are pretty long, and we need to analyze them, the difference between all the genres of writing. So we need to discuss the structure, the language, the tone. Tone usually register also varies from audience to audience and our intended outcome or the target groups. So adult learners, they need to write, and they will be the whole life learner. They will have to carry on these entire life. There may be like science students, they're supposed to write reports, supposed to write theses or dissertations in their life. So effective writing techniques will help them master the skills throughout their life, but that comes in bits and pieces, and it can be fragmented. To begin with the free writing exercises, and then going to the specific durations, and first they start without worrying about grammar. Then we have a gentle nudge about why we need to care about because grammatical errors, they impede the smooth progress of the task, and also gives counterproductive meaning. So in the written form, we can sometimes tailor the prompts to the interest or experience or the goals of adult learners to make writing more engaging. Obviously, if we don't have a strong feeling about the topic, and this topic is alien to us, and they haven't experienced, and there will be no schemata. There won't be any background knowledge of information. Without reading and extensive reading, we're having the extensive ideas of it's hard to come up with the ideas. It has to, brainstorm, and so we need to provide prompts, whether it's nudging, whether it's the actual prompts, the tangible support. It includes both tangible and intangible supports. Like, we can give a prompt. Imagine you are a character in your favorite book. Write a journal describing a day in your life. Now, one day in your life could be symbolical or representative of the whole thing, the entire life. Like that could be a representative sample of how he could write for other important eventual or eventful days in his life. And that's how the novelists and writers, they come up with their own novels, and very long novels are nothing but like, and sometimes journal entry over the years. So this kind of prompt will realize allowed to practice descriptive writing while connecting the person interest. Descriptive writing, yeah, it sounds to be easy, but it has to be linked to the person interest. So it's a good idea to encourage learners even to exchange their written work. As I told that in the class, we can pair them, we can group them, and then we can give constructive feedback to, they could give each other constructive feedback, one another. It could be teacher-led, it could be frontal, it could be suggestive. We can also display some sort of checklist, check mark. I'm coming to the checklist and check marks, how So obviously give specific positive feedback and suggest areas of improvement. Would give them a leverage of how to capitalize on the dormant power of the pen. So dividing the learners into group exchanges, then fitting guidelines and focusing on clarity of ideas and suggesting to strengthen arguments or organization. Now they will come with an argument. Now our job is to provide the scaffolding, how to strengthen the argument, and then how to put those those arguments in a favorable organizational structure with transition words to be used. So use contextual examples. Like context is very important, whether it's wherever we are, whatever situation is. If we don't have context, we can't establish the right tone. And interactive activities practice special grammar rules and introduce new vocabulary. So if the focus is on improving business writing skills, now all kinds of writings are to be dealt with. Sometimes we deal with business writing, which has to be quite formal, and we have the etiquettes and manners and all the and focus on commonly used. Business vocabulary are very different, and we have English for special purposes, where things may not be very different as far as grammar is concerned, but of course the register, the tone, the genre is altogether, it's a standalone genre where we have to provide them with the right chunks, right kind of lexical sets and all. So look at this, how can it be written? I'm just giving an example. We tested velocity by placing a green trace die on the surface. This is from a scientific journal, a measure point. After each run of testing, now this can be rewritten as in a passive voice, because we don't want to mention we or personal pronouns here. It's scientific, and it's a factual statement. So velocity was tested by placing a green trace. Here we are using all the passives because the individual is not important here. And was estimated, then was tested, and then was placed. So we need to teach them that passive voices come handy, and we forget to use the active constructions when it comes to the journal writing or scientific writing. So we as instructor also can provide them some feedback. Some key strengths could be some like these are the remarks or the feedback or strengths.
Recording stopped.
This is the wholesome input from my side, and this includes the feedback. Some strengths include summed ups, like strengths, some of the weaknesses and examples.
Recording in progress.
Coherent organizations, rich vocabulary, solid evidence, engaging writing styles. So look at this. The man was old, the man had gray hair, the man walked. Now how can we unite or join these, like combining of the various ideas, punctuation errors, lack of transitions, repetitive ideas, insufficient conclusions. Now guided paraphrases, we can also sometimes use a paraphrasing, like replacing the words. And we can provide, this is a proofreading marks and like checklist, they can use this rubric for writing assignments. And it comes really handy. I mean, it really helps us a lot in minimizing our efforts and minimizing the time, and also helps in content organizations, language, also grammar and conclusions. Obviously, just wind up and recap what we have.
Recording stopped.
Effective writing basic rules, getting to the point, and tone is important, approach is important, checkpoints. These are checklists, you know.
Recording in progress.
This is a checklist of how we provide and how we test and give these tests. This can be shared, can be used, can also be as a templates for the students to check on their own writing tasks, and they can come up with, believe me, I mean, a lot of job can be done simply by providing these extensive checkpoints and checklist, and they will either be able to check out. These could be, I mean, as simple as spelling, correct words, rules of grammar, syntax, punctuations, and then they can declare them that this is error free, or like so these are some of the examples I have come up with. Some of the grammar points, that errors with explanations, like could be the effects of social media on teenagers, a hotly debated topic in today's society. Now, what is the error found here? This is subject over agreement. This is a complete violation of the basic rule of subject over agreement. The effects of social are a hotly debated are, and then effects plural verb should be changed to are to maintain. These are some of the examples of verb tense corrections, original sentences, subject over agreement, origins. I mean, I've come up with this. Yeah, thank you so much. I guess I haven't exceeded the time frame of, and I'm hoping to hear from the audience, the participants. I haven't been able to keep an eye on my chat box, probably. So, awaiting the reactions, and then the I'm waiting for the moderator to.
Yeah. Thank you. Muhammad Hassan Ahmad. He is from the King Abdulaziz University in Saudi Arabia. Thank you for participating with our program for today, and we are grateful since we have very good response from colleague in Saudi Arabia, and then this time we learned across the countries. And I would like to invite to Wander Sensei to raise any kind of comment of our presentation just before from our colleague Muhammad Hassan Ahmad. Sensei, time is yours.
First of all, I'd like to thank you very much for the presentation that you gave. The purpose of the presentation, it seems at the beginning, was how to teach writing classes. Is pretty much basically summarizing how we should teach in writing classes. Is that correct? That is basically the purpose or the theme that you had set out for your presentation. Is that correct, Mohammed?
Right. I got a bit puzzled about, because the abstract that I have submitted, that was intended for certain objective, but what I understood, or that was in general how we teachers could be effective in training or mastering, letting our learners master the skills of writing. Advanced. I chose advanced writers, not the beginners. And
okay. So I wanted to ask you a question. Could you explain the PEEL method, PEEL method? I mean, I'm not familiar with this method. Maybe I touched on it once, but I don't recall what it was. Could you explain it to us, the PEEL method? you mentioned that it is explained in the class to the learners. Could you tell us what the PEL method is?
That's an acronym for how we set out our task in writing. We
Yes.
present, and then we explore, and then we go on with providing some prompts and feedback and all. Those are the steps. There are
Okay,
6 or
so
7.
prompt explore. What's the third E for? If you recall, the prompt explore, enumerate.
Yeah, then clarify, and then something to do with those steps, stages or step. But that usually
Okay,
vary.
okay.
That usually vary from learner, group to group, or level to level. But essentially,
Okay.
obviously, it's present and then practice and then present and yeah.
Okay. Okay, I thought the points you brought up about brainstorming are very important. They tie in with the idea of introducing mapping in the class, where the teacher will put the main theme in the center, and then everybody comes up with ideas and develops it more, which is what we actually are doing when we're trying to develop our paper or come up with the ideas on which areas we should be writing on. Um, the other area you touched on two types of writing, basically, lightly, because you're trying to cover all the aspects of soft writing and hard writing. Basically, soft writing being the qualitative writing, while the hard writing is quantitative research or writing. And hard writing is usually more scientific, whereas soft writing is usually more towards literature and social sciences. And these two types of writing do have very different writing styles, as you mentioned.
Right.
Both the amount of active voice and passive voice that is used in these two types of writing differs quite a bit. Actually, in our scientific writing, you'll see more passive voice generally than you will.
Right. Because more objective, it's more objective, and subjectivity is to be removed. It's not individual that counts. It's what happens. The events are stressed upon without mentioning it sometimes. Yeah.
Yes. So I thought those are, as you mentioned, I and we are used in both types of writing, but they are used to a different degree. And
it's a mix. Yeah, it's a mix-up. It's not that it's a taboo to write. Use the active form in scientific journal. It's not a taboo. But the amount
it's not necessarily taboo, but it's very limited.
It's very limited. It's very limited. Yeah, and most of it's a process writing where we engage in the steps of doing things. Now there we don't use personal pronouns. Like now, how it's done, how it's carried out. That's what we aim at. Like manual, scientific manual, or even the simple manual instrumentation steps involved.
I or we, as you said, it brings across a subjective point of view more than an objective point of view. And basically, it's when you're trying to express your views, where if you give across views that are from an objective point of view, it has more, how would I say it, evidence or power in many cases.
Actually, sometimes. Sometimes the writer has to let the audience notice his presence in the writing.
Yes.
Because his beliefs and his feelings and the way he looks at it, it's a kind of repertoire, like the whole repertoire of the writer gets reflected through some of the writing genres. So he cannot take him outside the boundaries of those.
Right. So so a lot of what you talked about today, I thought was very appreciated. The points of comments, the slides, if they would have probably had more bullets and probably larger, probably more keywords and key phrases instead of longer sentences, then those keywords or points would have probably been stressed more
Right,
as
right.
you would have been through the
I,
presentation.
I
Because,
totally agree with that. I try to digest more than I could swallow, you know. Oh, I could,
yes, yes.
I could because
Yeah.
I aimed,
Sometimes, yeah,
I aimed at including majority of the aspects that was relevant, and I
yes.
was really at a loss whether it was intended for beginners or advanced learners, or I mean, like it says academic writing, but even
Right,
academic
right,
writing
right.
we have the variations, and so I was not very
Yes.
sure of how to go about it, because when we start
So
pulling.
basically, yeah, for the presentations today, it was basically to be presentations in any area, actually, but just to actually,
It's quite
um,
comprehensive, yeah, comprehensive, and
yes,
yeah, I try
yes,
to make it
but
more comprehensive.
yeah, but this is actually a presentation actually in that area, which is good also. I mean, that's another area which I've been presenting.
Thank you,
So
thank you so much.
I
Yes.
thank you very much. I thank you very much, and I will pass it back to our um, uh, to Dr. Weke for following through, our chair. Thank you.
Thank you, Sensei. Hasan, if you don't mind, please write on the checkbox your WhatsApp number so we can contact each other after this one. Inshallah, by the next semester, we will start another program with us. It's about English for special purpose or English for academic purpose. And then this semester, we already in the end to complete the academic writing program, and it might be a good one that we can start for the next semester. It's about English for academic purpose. And then we are more than happy if any friend of us, any colleague of us, like Muhammad Hassan Ahmad, that he is from King Abdulaziz University, the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, is willing to join and collaborate with us. And this is a very good want to extend our cooperation since we have actually ASEAN Youth Forum, and this is a forum of youth in Asia, and then we didn't have anyone participate from Saudi Arabia. If we can invite anyone to join, it might be could enrich this forum. Sensei, would you like to give brief descriptions?
In
It
the
might be a good opportunity for us, and then our friend from Saudi Arabia, Muhammad Hassan
Yes.
Ahmad, will at least we introduce this ASEAN Forum, and we introduce ball outreach. Times is yours, Sensei.
Thank you, this again. We have upcoming we have an Asian Youth Forum coming up very soon in Indonesia, and that will be working with an international conference crossing boundaries with many international speakers there also. And at this Asian Youth Forum, which is going to happen from August 7th to the 14th, students will be gathering, and they will be discussing and creating ideas similar to what Mohammed Hassan was talking about. But international students will work together, and they will try to map out ideas and brainstorm and develop a presentation themselves for the international conference on the students' view of the perspective of environmental issues in different cultures. And so basically, I work as a chair or a coach in a sense, and I help the students develop and write their presentation. And then when they actually present the presentation at the international conference, this is usually the first opportunity for young people to actually really become involved in this process at doing an actual academic presentation in front of actual professors of other universities. Likewise, the students do other activities through the Asian Youth Forum. They do language language exchanges where they learn the languages of the other cultures that are present at the AYF. So this year we'll be doing the Japanese and Indonesian, but usually we have maybe 4 or 5 languages, and the students from each of those cultures will actually give a language teaching lesson and teach basic vocabulary for just getting around that can be learned within the 20 to 30 minutes. And this gives the students another opportunity to initially have access and learn about other languages and actually use them with the students. Furthermore, students at this Asian Youth Forum, they have activities that are fun also. They have performances where the students will show their skills or hobbies that they do that are tied with the cultures of their culture. Again, this helps us understand, and we do cultural dances from each country or other things together, but building up this family community or understanding between different cultures so that we all understand each other better. And besides that, it's actually almost like living with each other for 1 week, because these students are actually sharing rooms in a hotel or actually eating meals with each other and doing outside excursions with each other. So a lot of very active involvement. At the end of these youth forum, usually students decide how they want to go back to their country and what benefit they can do to try and make people in their country more aware of the other cultures and understand what they actually learned from this special conference. And in many cases, these students will come back and come to the next Asian Youth Forum and participate as leaders of the Asian Youth Forum or even do more. So these are the things that happen at Asian Youth Forum. Now this one is going to be AYF 27 is in Indonesia. AYF 28 will be in Japan here at Sendai Tohoku University. So we will be hoping for more people to be coming to Japan as it's more popular sometimes, and also the access through the airports and stuff is easier from many more countries, I think. But usually when we've had the AYA in Japan, at least 12 or 13 countries with student representatives from each of those countries. We will have, besides that, we have a other Balsamo Outreach for Learning and Teaching is the foundation which I helped organize 12 years ago in 2010. And this organization has international conferences for language teaching, as well as doing human security conferences and working with student conferences such as Asian Youth Forum. The conference, we have 2 international conferences online this year in 2023. One will be in October, in which we already have close to 13 international plenary speakers from at least 10 different countries. Besides that, we have the Tohoku University International Interdisciplinary Seminar, which is held every year. And this year it will be online because of complications with the COVID and also with some reconstruction at our school. So we will be having that online. But we will be returning to the face-to-face conferences here at Tohoku University in November of 2024. So in November 2024, we will have face-to-face human security issues discussed in English as international presentations, which are opportunities for teachers from abroad to come and present in English here at Tohoku University and learn a little bit about Japan at the same time while they're here. Besides that, these are the things that are coming up. Please access the Balsamo Outreach for Learning and Teaching homepage, or keep in touch with me and I can give you the information. But or Dr. Weke. Dr. Weke is our international liaison for Eastern Asia for the Balsamo Outreach for Learning and Teaching. So you can also talk to him and he can give you information also. So basically, those are events and activities that we are doing, we have been doing over the past 12 years, and we really hope to see you possibly join and attend some of those if you're interested. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Sensei. So we already introduced this AYF, and somehow it is the initiative of Ball Outreach NPO in Japan, and then somehow if we can introduce this one to the friends of us or colleague of us in the King Abdulaziz University in Jeddah, it might be a very good opportunity of us. Second things that it might be we can benefit from the academic writing of this semester, and this is the 13 of week of the meeting, and I would like to invite everyone on the chat box. Is there it's presentations for every one of us, for those who already attend our meeting for today. The second one, it might be we could find opportunity for meeting somewhere else in Jeddah, inshallah, if I could perform Umrah, and then we can sit down table to table to discuss what is the possibilities of us, Indonesia, Japan, and Saudi Arabia for another cooperations. Since we already work with BOLT, Balsamo Outreach Language Teaching, already we have a very good and extensive collaborations, and then it might be we should have opportunity to introduce this one to a friend of us around the world, and one of the best place to introduce it is in Jeddah, because it is one of the destination before arriving to Makkah Al-Mukarramah, so we have a very good opportunity to introduce this. Thank you very much to our colleague Muhammad Hussein Ahmad already present, and Sensei already give the feedback for this one. One more thing, actually your presentations already good. Fortunately, not the way, but the point is written like a word over there. So it will make the reader confused for catching up the idea or the point over there. That's one. The second one, actually, a good things if we can provide pictures or graphic or any kind that not only it is written over there, because it seems that the slide that you present, it seems the somehow like a word, but that's not the big deal actually, but just feedback or comment from me. One more things that actually we could come up to clear up in the early stage of presentation what is the main topic, or what is the idea, or what is the big things that we could present of it, because most of the presentations is about detail, but we don't have the explanation before in the early stage of presentation what is actually the big things of that. Yeah, that's only my comment. Yeah, I would like to invite every one of us in the group in the Zoom meeting, and then for those who are not in the Zoom, for those who are joining by streaming YouTube in the same times, I would like to invite to have comment, questions, or any kinds of saying from you. You can write there over there in the chat box. In the same times, you can raise your hand and open your mic in terms to give us an opportunity to discuss about this. And then Sensei, would you like to extend some idea or comment from my comment before that actually this is already a good presentation actually, but we need to clear up the slide, not actually as the word or writing over there, but it might could help us in point or in pictures, in infographics, or anything that to make easy for the reader. What is your comment, Sensei?
I think using some type of a PDF slide or PowerPoint slides is one of the is a very good framework for actually doing slideshows, especially online when you're doing online.
That's right.
Yeah. And like I did mention in my last presentation 2 weeks ago, if we ideally have almost a 30-point font for most of the characters by using just keywords and key phrases, so that we can fit the main points on the slide, and we can elaborate on those points and talk about them, but not necessarily write it on the slide.
The lesser the better, yeah? The lesser the better.
Yes, the less the better. So, so anyway, those are key points. The other thing is graphs or tables are very good, but of course, with teaching English and giving examples, you don't usually have too many graphs or tables when you're talking about writing process. So you can't really give too many graphs or tables unless you're actually doing an analysis of the number of words students are writing or something. But
it's a
pictures are very.
It's a great takeaway. Yeah, it's a great takeaway for me. Try to incorporate these ideas and try to declutter. Declutter slides. Yeah.
Yes, you can go to the AI. Go to the AI GPT. If you go to GPT chat, if you go there and you put in the AI and you say you want free pictures.
Yeah, we have loads. Yeah, we have loads of AI applications, and there's no dearth of such applications. And
so it's amazing what you can just type in. You can just type in like writing strategies or whatever for a picture, and usually it'll give you about 4 or 5 pictures, and sometimes just throwing that little picture in can help words and a picture of it. So that's just the ways of spicing up the presentation to make it more interesting for the people.
Actually, when I present on various platforms, there are paraphernalia and requirements of different forums and stages, and so sometimes we cannot simply have a rule of thumb like this kind of presentation, that kind of. So depending upon the requirement, and it can be a workshop type in-house, and where we have more interactive. I understand all those kinds, and we get to interact with all sorts of maybe workshop, maybe in-house, maybe peer-to-peer, maybe there are some it could be some video based, and some could be snippets and images and all that. The image, sometimes the image themselves speak so much you don't have to say anything. It would be quite telling. The images themselves will tell you most of the things. Actually,
you can overdo images also, because my students, I've had some students come to class and they make a presentation and all they do is put pictures on the slides, with no words or no keywords.
Yeah.
Of course, they give a presentation with it, and the people can understand it. But still, then I have to say, okay, you're missing keywords. You should at least have some keywords up there and things to help the students.
The general dictum of all the slide application is that it shouldn't exceed more than 20% of like the area of, or maybe 10% the area, and it has to be really telling in bulleted points and in impact, and because it gets carried forward quite easily, and it's easy to assimilate the information. Don't be overload of the information. I understand the overload of information is just distracting, and depending upon the kind of audience that we were intending it for. Sometimes we may have to include loads of information in one session itself. 15 minutes we have to recap the whole world. I have been into presentations where within 10 to 15 minutes I had to recap the whole of encapsulate the entire the genre entire so I had to rush through the things. Most of the international seminars and all that, they allow you only 10 to 15 minutes. First of all, I wasn't sure of how much time I'm going to get for this. There were no clear-cut guidelines from. I was at a loss. In fact, to tell you that I was befuddled. It was quite puzzling. In fact, I had forgotten the kind of abstract that I had submitted, and because I keep submitting abstracts on so many various platforms, and so somehow I just obliged the invitation in the sense that maybe I don't have to wait for the coming. I wasn't sure when it's coming, how it's coming, who will be my audience, and what are the expectations to be met. So when at ground zero, we know the expectation. We tweak the things. It comes handy. It's a child play for me and for people like who are presenting on them. We're into this art of presentation, so we know how to modify, tweak, what to include, what not to include, and so I aim for incorporations or inclusion of. In fact, I wanted to have a summing up of all that includes in the. All that could be included in the academic writing. When we talk of academic writing, it's the whole world. Like we are running here academic writing, in my own place, and we cater to the needs of varying, levels, varying genres, varying undergrads and postgrads and researchers and focus groups and all those kinds. So we have to keep juggling through. Sometimes it's very basics, rudimentary. Sometimes it's really, really advanced. So when we talk of genre, base, gesture, and tone and biases and those kind of things, where the writer has, our students has to pick on the prejudices, the biases, the tainted, political columns and scientific journals where the writer has, misled, or even the campaign or the commercials, where most of the writing commercials are misleading. And so as the acumen of a good reader employs the critical ability, the critical thinking ability to see through those kind of things. So writing is like, it's a mirror to the writer. It's a mirror to the writer. We get through. This is a window, and when we write, we should give a window, allow the window to the reader to get into what's being intended. Not only what is being intended, but also what is implied, the underlying meaning, implied meaning. Sometimes with the subtle meaning, and so when I talk about, I get wondering, keep wondering, how we could, in a session, without categorizing the kind of we are aiming for, without categorizing, what are we aiming for? That has to be first, brushed upon, and then we can always. Now, look, there is a bombardment of the information overload these days. We are talking about AI generated and all that. I'm familiar with all those kind of things. When I come out, that's what makes the overload of the things. The overload of information is because we are bombarded with too much. We can't be very picky. We can't simply glean out this and leave out that, and it's a Hobson's choice. It's always a Hobson's choice. So what I included in my presentation is entirely relevant, and it says a lot about but they depend upon what I'm trying to convey, who I'm trying to convey, who is my audience, what I'm intending to convey, how much time I'm there to. Is it going to be an interactive session? Is it going to be partly led, fully led? Is it going to be supervised? Is it going to be so when it's interactionals, the pattern interaction is we don't need any content, we just keep croaking. I mean, we don't need even presentation, PowerPoints and all that. Why do we actually need the PowerPoints? To me, I don't need any PowerPoint. I rarely need to use a PowerPoint. But this has become so fashionable that without PowerPoint, there can't be any presentation. I mean, why on earth we keep carrying this framework and template, and that there has to be a PowerPoint presentation, there has to be something on that, and there has to be we can't have an interaction without employing any of these. We can simply talk, and when we talk,
I agree.
we really deliberate upon the crux. I mean, if you talk to me how I'm dealing with my writers in my place, in my classroom, with the actual problems, with the actual samples, with the actual, that would give the real outcome of what is intended, not the one which is being done elsewhere in other parts of the world. All our issues are specific, unique. Our learners are unique, in fact. When it comes to the second language acquisitions, the first language, and the EFL, ESL, all contexts are different. All the contexts are different. So we cannot, employ one for the other, and we exchange or trade one for the other. I mean, there are specifics. There are always specifics. I mean, this is just a comment. That's how I feel. I feel when
I know where you're coming from, because I've been presenting for over 40 years. Okay, I'm back from the age where we had the old rolling just slides you placed on top, which were typed out.
Projector
with no color.
Overhead projector. Yes, slides over projector.
We're just writing.
I've used that. I've used that British Council in Delhi. I've used those in British Council in Delhi.
Yes.
If you tell these things to the people, they won't believe that. Such things used to be led by projector and slides and plastic paper. We used to write with a marker, and that would be displayed on the projector. We remember. I remember those things.
Yes.
Anyway,
those are very, very useful, like you say. But like you say, that what you actually say is more important. Not
the slides and all. Sorry guys, I'll have to head to my institution. I've got a session now, so excuse me for my
thank you very
leaving.
much.
Thank you, Hassan. I do agree with all that comments about it. Most of things that actually somehow in our classroom we have the media, even the very traditional one. We have blackboard and chalk. It is a kind of media. So anyone is free to choose anyone, not as the PowerPoint as one of the mass or the obligations of a day, but as long as we can help each other, the teachers, lecturers can make it easy, and somehow the students and the audience is easy. Thank you very much for everyone already joining our classroom. Muhammad Hassan, you can leave, and then we still have 4 minutes to go. And then I would like to.
It's my pleasure being with you all.
Once again. Yeah, thank you, Hassan.
Thank you.
And I would like to invite once more to Sensei Peter John Warner Sensei to wrap up our meetings for today, and the